The Israelite Nation, Worldwide Ministries.
As you're talking and you're saying overcome, I immediately see Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Right? And this thought just came, which never came before. So he was a pastor or minister or something, right? Mm-hmm. Leading the charge of we shall overcome. So the church folk, the black church folk, holding hands, we shall overcome, asking the slave masters God to help them overcome.
Yes.
The leader of that charge they killed.
Yeah.
The slave master killed. The leader of that charge.
And it has to happen because, again, it's under the wrong banner. And even it being under the wrong banner, the slave master doesn't even want to see us united and coming together with a leader. Right? Yeah. That's going to happen. Mm-hmm. If the minute that happens, it happened with the Black Panthers, it happens all the time. And if they're not killing us, we're killing each other, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to find a way to dismantle. And I think even outside of all of that, this is spiritual warfare. Outside of all of that, this is the God of Israel fighting against the other gods. Mm-hmm. So even if you think you're rising that ladder or that social ladder, whatever it is, whatever cause you're doing, no matter how far you get, it's going to get broken down because at the end of the day, it's not under the banner of the God of Israel.
There's a ceiling. Because the reason why we're there, the reason why there's a ceiling is because of the foreign God.
That's right.
So
false gods.
As long as you have that foreign God, there will be a ceiling.
Like, can you imagine? And yes, we can say, and remember, sometimes I think the slave master is just a puppet in this always too, right? Yeah. So you guys are going to unite and ban children of Jacob, and me as the God of Israel, I'm going to allow this? No, it has to get broken down. Yeah. And if I have to use stones to break you guys down, I will. Yep. And I'm going to cut it off from the head.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the people go back in their corners.
And if you can't see that, something is very wrong. Because go all the way back to the bush meetings on the plantations.
That's right. You weren't even allowed to assemble.
Can't assemble. And what we did secretly, we got sold out.
That's right.
Right? Every time something happened, it's...
And then even for me with Christianity, I mean, again, I how do you read the scriptures and not read Deuteronomy 28 and not have the full understanding when you go through all those curses and look up and look around the world, not connect and say, that's my people. Mm-hmm. You know, how do you not connect?
You don't want to.
You don't want to. You're stubborn and you're stiff-necked.
You're comfortable.
You're comfortable where you're at. You like your titles and your social groups. Yes. You like going to your Wednesday night prayer.
Yes.
You know, you like your little lifestyle that you created.
Yep.
So you don't want to serve the one true living God, even when the truth is put before you.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible state. But I'm glad that we were able to, under the banner of Remember the 400, get out there and talk. All the news broadcasts, I've seen clips and pieces here and there. It was wonderful.
It was wonderful. Yeah.
But it's not over. We're not done.
No, it's not. I mean, the fire is still burning for sure. I mean, it's a movement, and even being out there and seeing all the different people rallying for the same causes and understanding, hey, this is an Israelite group. If you stand with us as Israelites, great. Because the more people we can gather to get our message out and our voice heard, the better. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I think that's beautiful. And that's what I really think was a gift, even from the God of Israel himself.
Thank the God of Israel.
Amen.
We thank him.
Yes.
So, what's next?
Next, okay. The big looming question, what's next? So, coming this August, we have Freedom Month.
Freedom Month.
Yes, Freedom Month. Freedom Month because August is that month where so many different events took place for us that it just makes sense for it to be our month, Israelites, children of Jacob, people that look like me and you, for us to use that month as our month of recognition of everything that has happened to our foreparents.
When you say us, who's us you're talking about?
The Israelites, children of Jacob, and people that look like me and you. Right?
Descendants of slaves?
Descendants of slaves, yes. If you want me to be more specific, The descendants of slaves, right? Because we, again, were given a month.
Right.
We were given the shortest month, February, the coldest month. And February, when you look at the month of February, has nothing to do with our history. What took place in February that really affect our lives? You know, when you think of time and timelines in life, it's cause and effect, right? Things happen, so things change. There isn't anything in February that happened that really affected our lives. You know, everything led up to August. And the great thing about Canada is it being a leading country when you think about of freedom and Freedom Month, is that John Graves Simcoe, you know, founder of Toronto, in 1793, he created and established the Act Against Slavery. Right, he put this forth. At that time, there was the Legislative Assembly, and then there was a Legislative Council, and he was basically the Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada, and he was against slavery and wanted to get rid of it. And so he, again, established and designed, you know, the Act Against Slavery. So he did this in 1793, 40 years before William Wilberforce, and 70 years before America abolished their slavery. So he put this forward, and the assembly is an assembly where you have an elected, the body has to be elected by the people, but the council, you know, John Simcoe, he selected, handpicked those people, about 9 people or so. And it's funny because he had this great cause, and the people that he selected, 5 out of the 9 people were slave owners right here in Canada.
Interesting.
In Toronto.
Interesting.
Right? So he had to, it wasn't an easy process, you know, but he was able to finally pass a bill basically to say that slavery would be abolished in Canada. No one knows really the end date, but it was this gradual dying out of slavery in Canada. So basically, if you came here as a slave, you'd live and die. But if you had children, they would be born into slavery. But once they turned 25, they would become free. And if you came here as a free slave, a free person, you know, that would remain. You know, but he had pushback. I mean, it's funny because Toronto, the city he helped to found, he's the founder of it. When you look downtown, and this is now, again, 400 years. After the 400 years, we have a new chapter, and we are recognizing Freedom Month, and everything has to be changed. And these are some of the things that, remember, the 400, you know, is going to be a part of and involved in just changing. Like the Jarvis Street downtown is named after a family, the Jarvis family, that had slaves.
We gotta get that out of there.
We gotta get that out of there. You know, Russell Peters, right? That was Peter Street is named after him. He had a slave, Peggy Pompadour, who had 3 children. One of the the daughter, Jupiter.
Now you said Russell Peters.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, not the comedian.
Not the comedian Russell Peters.
I believe it's Russell Peters. We have to do a fact check here.
But Peter Street. Anyway.
Peter Street. Anyways,
Peter Street. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Basically was named after him, and he would make examples out of slave. Like, because the family of slaves he had were very resistant. No, all the slaves in Toronto were very resistant. You know, they wanted to be free, and they would run away and all this kind of stuff. So this particular person would make examples out of them. And one of the slaves, Jupiter, that he owned, he put up in a storefront, just bound, hang for people to walk by.
This is in Toronto?
In Toronto, right here. You know? And then now, fast forward to our time now, 400 years after this new chapter, a new beginning, right? Because I think Elder Freddie spoke again in the last podcast about every 400 years. So this new set of 400 years, it is not a coincidence that in the news last week, 2 weeks ago, we're discussing Henry Dundas and Dundas Street.
That I heard. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. To be honest with you, the extent of slavery in Toronto, I know about Halifax and the Underground Railroad, but I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Yeah, right here. So even with Henry Dundas, and if we talk about, so now
Dundas Street.
Dundas Street. So it's become controversial because William Wilberforce started back in 1807. Oh my gosh, it was pretty much like his life, his whole life. The Slavery Abolition Act, right?
Okay.
He put forward this to the House and Parliament in England, the British Empire. Hey, he wanted to get rid of it, and dismantle the whole thing. It took until 1833 for it to actually pass. But then Henry Dundas was the one that intervened and basically said, it can't die out right away. He added the word gradual to the bill, basically.
And gradual has no timeline to it.
And gradual, yeah, and so it extended the slavery period. It went for another 15 years, so by and the reason why, again, August for Freedom Month, because by August 1st of 1834 is when everything actually went into effect.
Gotcha.
And that's why we really should recognize August as Freedom Month. Nat Turner's revolt happened in August, right? And even the Haitian Revolution with Toussaint, August 21st.
Okay.
Right?
I see it.
It's a global thing. You have America, you have the Caribbean, you have the England, and even Canada, and even with Nat Turner and his revolt and things that changed, because of his revolt, the U.S. said, hey, tell slaves they can no longer learn to read. They cannot be educated. Again, the oppression.
Yeah.
Everything to keep us down.
Control measures.
Of course. So there's so many things that happen in August that it should be our Freedom Month. And those are really the big ones. Recognizing when we first arrived on the shores of the New Egypt, that fulfills the prophecy from the God of Israel and when he spoke to Abraham. Going fast forward all the way to being the pillar at the border of in Canada.
What was the date that was the month August when they arrived?
Yes, it was August. I believe August 25th is the
1619.
1619.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there certainly is a compelling argument that August has a lot of
and that's just a few. It's not even tipping the iceberg. Tell me, what did we do in February that was so monumental?
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Are we saying this is to replace Feb? Do we have Freedom Month, August, Black History Month in February? Or are we saying let's get rid of that or move away from that and let's do our Freedom Month in August?
Honestly, for me, it's very controversial. In my opinion, first of all, Black History Month. We don't even do it. Like, if you went through the school system, they talked about two people, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. You didn't even learn your history, really. Completely do away with February, completely do away with Black History Month. And our history should be taught throughout the entire school year, with the month of August as the recognition of everything that culminated around us, our freedom and our arrival to America.
Black History Month, actually, Carter Woodson.
Yes.
He's the one that I guess kind of has the origins with it. However, it wasn't Black History Month; it was Black History Week.
Correct.
And he came up with that for the reason of, hey, there's nothing being celebrated, there's nothing being taught. Yeah. And my understanding is that he didn't want this to be a forever thing. This was sort of like here's a solution that we could have to assist this. It doesn't have to be 1,000 years of Black History Month, right? Because as you can see, it almost seems kind of like they're stretching and reaching for content. You know? I'm seeing Black History Month celebrating something that was done 2 years ago. Yeah. Granted, thank you very much for the efforts. Yeah. But we're talking about historical facts. So, you go back to slavery and you go further back, there's not a whole lot that they can discuss. No. Which is interesting. Yeah. The month Feb was chosen by Carter Woodson. Simply because his two favorite characters or heroes, Frederick Douglass, birthday in February, and Abraham Lincoln, who he felt did a lot for the slaves, was born in February. That's it. That's the reason. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, why? Why do we need to commemorate them, particularly in terms of their lives? Like Abraham Lincoln, yes, in my opinion, he was a person used to do that for God of Israel's children. Right. And throughout our history as Israelites, God of Israel continually used different nations, different people to do whatever they need to do whatever he needs them to do, I should say better, for his children. It always goes back to his Israelite family. What do I need to do to get my Israelite family back on board with me? And how do I use other nations to affect them or to impact them so that they will continually or come back to me and serve me? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's no reason for us to celebrate Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
Then we might as well celebrate Nebuchadnezzar at that point.
Or Balaam and Balak,
Yeah.
right?
Or King Cyrus or whoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Really, no, that's a solid point. Solid point. So, Priest Doreen, what is it your own personal dream that you would see, that you would like to happen after this 400 years has completed? What would you like to see take place?
in this new 400 years?
This new era.
This new era?
400 years is done.
That's a loaded question.
It's very loaded. Very loaded.
That's a loaded question.
It's a big question. What would you like to see?
So, we are always a nation within a nation, right? Mm-hmm. I would like to see the Israelite nation, we're thriving, yes, but to really also awaken the children of Jacob in the masses, right? Mm-hmm. And let them know who we are as a people. Mm-hmm. So that this time when we build the Black Wall Street, we do it under the right banner, the right title, the right God, not a foreign God, not a false God, but under the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That we now, the Israelite nation, are living amongst each other. Mm-hmm. We are doing business with each other. Our dollar now recycles 30 and 50 and 100 times more instead of just 1 hour.
Here we go.
Our trillions, that we are the consumers, giving trillions, and we are the consumers that give the trillions away to other people. That trillions of dollars stays within our community, that our voice is heard, that our economy is thriving, that we are able to keep our holy days without having to go to this body of government to say this and that in our own community, we can go with our voice and make changes in law and say, recognize this is our holy day. Right. This day belongs to us. Without, you won't get penalized if you didn't go to school, because you won't get penalized to go to school because we will have schools in our own community. Right. You know what I mean? There will be representation. So if I have to take my child to the doctor looks like my child. I mean, even recently, right? Mm-hmm. Serena Williams, talked about giving birth and not being treated fairly. And Black women, when they go to the hospital, aren't heard by their doctors of the pain, right? If they're suffering some ailment or whatever, it's not taken seriously, So, and these are doctors that don't look like us, right. So in our own community, hopefully we get to so much and millions of people in our community that we are taken seriously with each other, that we understand how to govern our nation and how to treat each other, as brethren. Lovely. So it's not just strangers, but we are coming together as a community, as brethren and as the Israelite family.
Not Wakanda.
Not Wakanda. No, definitely not.
But under the right banner.
Under the right
banner. And
you
you were
banner.
Absolutely, I love that. That is not a dream. That is something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's right.
And hey, Dundas Street, Peter Street, what else? What else?
Jarvis Street.
Jarvis, we got to get that up out of here.
Yeah.
We got to rename that
Dundas
Street.
Yes.
We shouldn't be seeing Dundas Street next year.
No, not at all.
John Tory,
not at all.
The mayor of Toronto, if this gets to you somehow, Dundas, Peter, and Jarvis, up out of here. We got to rename that.
Like John Tory and the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau,
Doug Ford, everybody
whoever. Also needs to proclaim the month of August as Freedom Month.
This is great. We got a lot to look forward to, and so come August, there are things that are in the plans in the works.
Yes.
To commemorate and move forward towards that.
Correct.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we're going to have you back. That's guaranteed. To discuss this as we get closer or even after the commemoration or those events. Well, you know what? This has been fantastic.
Oh yeah,
this has been fabulous.
It's been wonderful. I enjoyed it.
You're out in New York.
Yes.
Well, the New York branch, you have a gem. You got a gem. She is out in New York, the New York, New Jersey branch. For those of you after the COVID is over, reach out to all of our different or various branches. We've been in discussion with many of you. A lot of phone calls, phone messages, texts, etc. Reach out again just to keep the communication warm, the link connected, so that not only are we just talking over devices, but we meet face to face. As Priest Doreen had mentioned, we have a real future to look towards, which sounds really fantastic. And it is not something that is outside of our reach. We have a great God. The day when we get together and we build that new, I'm not going to call it Black Wall Street,
Right.
the new purple, red, white, and blue Wall Street.
That's right.
The day we build that Wall Street, they will fear to throw any Mazel Tov bombs, is that what it's called? Any of those fire bombs or light a fire, because they would fear us because of our God, not because of our stature, not because of our height, but because our God would not allow such a thing. They would know that. They would know that. They would see the reflection of his light upon us. Those days are things to look forward to, as the world continues to turn. Thank you for joining us on the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries podcast. Thanks again, Priest Doreen.
Peace.
Peace.